Stewart, and Dr. Noel James, both from the University of Miami, were about to conduct tests on reef ecology. Here, 200 miles of reef and atolls form the equivalent to Australia's Great Barrier Reef. During this dive, a small explosive charge will be used to obtain reef samples otherwise impossible to gather. Nekton Beta is a mini-sub crammed with equipment and just barely enough room for 2 men. But her mobility at depths down to 1,000 feet make her a valuable research tool. Commander Bryson completes the loading of the charge. It will then be attached to the mechanical arm on the sub's hull. Detonation, however, will be from the mothership Seamark after the sub has resurfaced and everyone is clear. It takes only moments to launch Nekton. Once over the side, she's released and on her way. Though a bit bumpy on the surface, underwater she becomes very calm and peaceful. The sub's temperature is now about 85 degrees. But as you descend, the temperature changes with the temperature of the water. Therefore, at about 1,000 feet, it becomes a comfortable 72 degrees. However, during resurfacing, it can become a steamy 90 degrees. The sub makes her way to the spot chosen by Dr. Ginsberg for investigation, and the small charge is carefully placed. Once all is clear, the captain okays detonation. The water is so still, the sediment hangs on for a long time. Using the mechanical arm, it doesn't take long to fill this ingenious outside bag with new samples and return again to the surface. Because the sub remains at sea level pressure during dives, numerous descents are possible in a single day with no decompression. Even in waters as shallow as 100 feet, scuba divers' bottom time is limited. So that makes the mini-sub a very practical answer. Dr. Ginsberg and his assistant check a sample of coral, similar to what is expected in today's collection. It is hoped they can get a fairly accurate guess at the reef's age. Beautiful examples of staghorn coral and brain coral are cleaned and washed and taken to Dr. Ginsberg to examine, along with a lovely Gorgonian sea fan. How did poor George get mixed up in all this? Ugly as it may seem, this rubbery-looking mass is actually a sclera sponge. But the most interest is created by samples of coral with clusters of aragonite cemented between, indicating the reef wall is very young and still growing. In fact, all the specimens, when carbon dated, confirm this. Even as night falls, the scientists will spend more hours working over samples. The next morning, while tanks of air are taken aboard in expectation of today's dive, the sub's pilot checks what reef areas have to be photographed, and additional weights are added to keep the sub in perfect balance. This entire project is devoted to research the general ecology, both static and living, that combine to form the reef. It will take months, maybe even years. But slowly, piece by piece, the mysteries will be solved, hopefully, before the ocean's resources are squandered recklessly by a world running out of resources. It is a race, but no one can predict the outcome. So much also depends on the rest of the world community.
Nekton Beta, down we go at 9:55.
First dive of the day for Roberts, 9:55.
The Nekton sub is actually very vulnerable, especially in caves and between crevices. Should she become wedged by a sudden ocean surge or by attack from a large fish, it could prove fatal. Support divers equipped with only air tanks would be helpless to reach her great depths.
We have 3 portholes to look out of here. Some yellowtail snappers swimming out around us. Just room to sit up halfway.
Nekton 225 from the sea mark. We had a report yesterday of a large hammerhead just over the edge of the escarpment, and we thought we better mention that to you and keep on the lookout for it. It was about 14 feet long, over.
We're now at 200 feet. 200 feet going off the wall.
Well, this backside is a bit different. Oh boy, look at this block coming up. Roger, we're just coming to the drop-off. The terrace is much, much bigger here. It's quite wide.
Every project manages to have its own grouper, a curious fish. They seem to adopt new visitors.
Where's he at?
He's down off our left side now.
Is he? Let's see how close we can get to him. He's right below. So right at the cave. See that? Oh, man, look at that. Look at a mouth on him.
Yeah. Oh, this is great.
He's coming right at it. Coming right up the porthole. Here he comes, right straight at it. Yeah, go right past me a little more. He's got his mouth right at it. Now he's turning. Oh, man, look at that.
Look at his eyes.
That's the biggest one I've ever seen.
Are the divers preparing to sample yet?
Yeah, they're going to be in the water shortly.
You can tell them there's a 6-foot grouper near the blast, about a 6-foot grouper near the blast.
That doesn't seem like much of a problem, does it?
No, he's not afraid of us. I don't think he'll be afraid of the divers either.
350 feet. 350 feet. Looking over the edge and straight down is about 1,200 feet. Then it slopes off and goes to 6,000 feet.
Hello, Seymour. Yeah, come in.
Okay, the divers are on their way in on it.
Yeah, roger. We'll be another half hour or so, probably.
500 feet. No fish light, like being on the moon. This reef goes to 1,200 feet at our bottom here. Glover's Reef is 10,000 feet at the bottom. We're heading for the surface now, going back up.
Topside, Dr. Ginsberg directs the sub's pilot to continue on to the next destination.
We're up to about 120 feet right now, and the corals are getting beautiful. The fish are more plentiful. The submarine's warmer, and the visibility is real good.
Hello, Seymour.
Go ahead.
Okay, we're coming up the cliff slowly, taking more pictures. We'll probably be surfacing in 10-15 minutes. We'll be well to the north of where we went down, to the north.
On a previous dive, a long stretch of open sand had been discovered, which looks almost like a superhighway in the ocean. But to date, no satisfactory explanation for this phenomenon has been advanced. Unfortunately, there wasn't enough time to allow more careful study. For the moment, we leave it to the romantics who love to puzzle over the lost continent of Atlantis and continue the ascent. The Nekton Beta certainly proved her worth.
Okay, we're surfacing. Now on the surface, pretty rough. Sort of like a space capsule when it lands. Up to 90 degrees inside the capsule now. A lot of humidity, walls are sweating. Can't shoot any film, you have to hold on too much. Pilot maneuvering the submarine in towards sea mark. Sea mark will reach down and get a hold of the rings on the sub and pull it up against the tires on the side. Then the hoist will pull it up on deck of the sea mark. Fantastic dive. Beautiful, beautiful.
Dr. Ginsberg will now head back to the University of Miami with an abundance of new reef samples to continue his studies.